Hi there. I want to talk today about burnout. The managers that I'm working with at the moment across a number of different organisations seem to me to be starting to exhibit some signs of burnout. And this is really worrying because an employee who's under pressure is one thing, an employee who's stressed is another far more serious thing. But an employee who's burned out is really, not in a good place, not in a good place for themselves, for their family, and certainly not for you as an organisation. So understanding what is behind burnout and being able to do something about it is going to be key to your medium-term success as an organization, even if you've found a way to carry on operations in the current set of circumstances. So let's talk about stress. What is stress? Well, look, imagine in your mind you had a balance, and on one side of the balance you've got the perception of all of the demands that are being placed on you. This is all of the stuff that you have to do for work, for home, homeschooling your kids, buying food, worrying about your health, worrying about the health of other people. On the other side of the balance is the perception of all of the resources that you have at your disposal to try to fulfill that demand. Okay, so this is your skills, your experience, your money. If you're managing people, this is the people that you're managing. All of that other kind of sets of resources that you have to try to fulfill that demand. Now, the perception of the demand that you're under is pressure, and pressure in and of itself is fine. Pressure helps you focus, pressure helps you get things done. But when that balance gets out of balance, when the demands that are being placed on you exceed your perception of the resources that you have at your disposal, that's when we get stressed. In other words, we feel like we can't cope. Stress is very serious because it doesn't just affect the way that you feel, it affects the way that you perform. So you think less creatively, you tend to have a poor view of risk, you can catastrophize more, and obviously it also has serious physiological effects as well. So blood pressure, increased risk of stroke, your emotional regulation, all of these things kind of take a nosedive when you're under sustained stress. And when the stress goes on for too long, eventually something snaps, and that leads to burnout. Burnout is this point at which you can no longer cope. And everything has to go, and you sort of collapse in a heap of distress. And burnout's horrendous because the blast radius around you when it's taking place it takes out all of the people who are near to you and dear to you. You sort of, one minute you're tearful, another minute you're sullen and withdrawn, another minute you're angry, and you're often taking all of this out on the people who are nearest and dearest to you. So it's not a good position to be in. I've been there myself, and it's horrendous. So if we are managing somebody who is exhibiting signs of stress, what is it that we can do? Well, the key words actually here are perception. So it's not just about what's on your plate and what you have to do to get that stuff done. It's how you think about it. It's how you perceive that demand. And like we've said, when you're stressed, you can tend to perceive things in a much more catastrophic way than is actually realistic. So if you're managing somebody in this situation, talk to them, unpack what they're thinking, unpack what they're feeling. See if you, by talking to them and coaching them, you can tease out from them perhaps a more realistic view of what's being expected of them and all of the things that they have to do. On the other side of the balance, the perception of the resources that you have at your disposal, that's really just another word for your self-confidence. Again, this is something that can take a nosedive when somebody is stressed. So the more that you can do to work with them, to help them recognize the strengths and the assets that they have, the more that you can do to change that perception. Because the game here is that we want to, right-size the perception of the demands that are being placed on people and really right-size the perception of the resources that they have at their disposal so that we can bring this thing back into balance. Now, we're in extreme times, okay? So those demands that are being placed on us are really significant, particularly if we are worried about money, if we're worried about our own health, if we're worried about other people's health. And that's not a case of just kind of pulling the wool over people's eyes and talking down the serious things that they are worried about. In some cases, you might have to recognize that to help people to cope and to pull them back from the brink of burnout, you do have to take some stuff off their plates. But first of all, it is is worth your while, just exploring with them, you know, how they feel about both of these things, and just oftentimes talking stuff through can really help. Okay, that's it for me for today. I'm Gareth, and I will see you on the next video.